You know, DDoSing doesn't piss me off. Players BMing me in private doesn't piss me off, but the BattleNet truly is pissing me off today, guys. So I do apologize that we had to do a mid-series swap there. I do wish TLO and Nurture both the best of luck in their series, where we find ourselves in another different best of 3, fresh off the bat here in the losers bracket, spawning in the top left corner of the map from the team My Insanity. It is the Red Canadian living in Europe, Kane.
And in the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, is Titan.
Titan's a bit of an interesting character for me to be casting right now. I haven't actually seen much of him in Heart of the Swarm. I cast a ton of him in Wings of Liberty. He was a big part of the Poker Stars league that they had going on there along the sides of like Grubby and others. But he's not a bad player. The problem is, because he's not done a lot, there's not a lot to speak about him for. And I haven't had a lot of experience watching him firsthand here in Heart of the Swarm, which is weird to consider because this is almost like a year later in Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah. Another player that you don't really think of, I think, when you think of like European players, like we were talking about, sort of, right? And I think Titan also falls in that same category. Yeah, really early probe scout, like really early. Consider before the pool is done or started.
Yeah, just to elaborate a little bit what Zombie Grip just said, by the way, guys. It's because like sort of Titan's a player who's a bit of a more of a recluse. He's not going to be in every online cup. He's not going to be the player invited all over the place all the time, but he's still a really strong player behind this. And fun fact, Zombie Grip, do you know what Roxas stands for?
Nope.
I always just thought this was just like a name, like, you know, any other name, but it's an what's the word? Where it's each letter stands for something. I'm having such a brain fart right now. Acronym for Radical Online Extremists, sponsored by Kaspersky Internet Security.
Okay, but extremist starts with an E.
No, dude, extremists.
Okay. Whatever. Let them get away with that. It's fine.
I don't know, I just thought it's because I've known about Roxas forever. Like, they're one of the longer around teams, and it wasn't until like maybe 3 months ago someone actually pointed out it stood for something to me, and I was like, wait, what? One of those like mind blown moments.
Yeah, I just figured it was like, I thought Rox and Kiss were two different things, like just shortened, and then they put it together. Like, I don't know what, but you know, something European. But I didn't know it was an acronym either.
Well, there you go, guys. You just learned something here on Base Straight TV. I'm sorry and I apologize. Welcome to class. Anyways, Titan. So again, this is one of the problems I was talking about. Like, I don't know what his go-to is versus Zerg, but I'll tell you, Kane is a player who's got no problem playing Swarm House. He's got no problem playing Roach Aggression, and he's really talented with his Mutalisks. It's really scary to consider that there's someone that's like a jack of all trades, that is a Zerg player, and a couple links getting across here really, really early. Oh god, these are actually going to tear down the pylon. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, just remakes it in the main though. Doesn't really, spend a lot of time trying to save that. Behind this, Kane is also getting that fairly early third hatch, as he has gone. Actually, he has gone for speed. Actually, has started. Has not mining gas anymore though. Not gonna be doing anything weird after that. And the Lynx do have to eventually leave.
So not only is this like a kind of quicker third, but this is the odd location for a third. How many times do people, like, it's the pocket base, the closer base everyone goes for. And it's not like Terran where you have to worry about that cliff being a problem. So a little bit curious on his choice to go for this one, but perhaps wanting to save this base for a safer expansion later on. I see the question mark. Anyways,
I don't know.
Well, Stargate gonna be coming down here out of Titan. Would not be shocked if an Oracle opened up with this. It is always really weird to watch an Oracle sort of dive into a Queen, but it does work. Without Spore Crawler, it's kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah, it can take a few pot shots from the Queen, but if they don't scout it and there's a Spore Crawler, you can get a few drones and go ahead and save it. Also a Forge going down as well, so you can get those cannons up and eventually take your third, or just stack the natural if there's run-bys. Link speed is almost already done. If Titan was going to do anything or like early aggression-wise, it would probably not work out. The probe and pylon would have been scouted, but that's not the case. Going to go for that Stargate opener. That's his map presence, is whatever he produces from the Stargate.
Still nothing died so far this game. I've been quite chastised by chat about my lack of first blood, so I'm gonna try extra hard for you dudes. But of course, every time I say that, I end up missing it. Void Ray is gonna follow this up, so Titan is gonna be able to snipe off an Overlord or two. It is always kind of curious to see Void Rays early on, because the question is how much you dedicate to this. If you get one or two, it's great for holding off Roach Aggression, it's great for dealing with the Lings, but more than that, you're really dedicating to a lot of resources to your air.
Yeah.
Oracle not going to go for the Queen, instead going to go straight for the drones.
First blood.
Here you
A couple of kills here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You can always hear that through like the. It's weird because like I guess it's so loud that might go through my headphones and back through the speaker to you.
Well, it saves the Oracle, but just barely. Doesn't really get that much though, and he'll want to he'll want to get that back home, but I don't know if he can. Queens will be on it. The Overlord sees what's producing out of the Stargate, sees the second Void Ray as well. You can kind of tell what's producing out of that.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like 2 Void Rays is nothing too insane. It's nothing you're really worried about as a Zerg player. But if there's 3 or 4 coming out, then all of a sudden you have to actually be prepared to lose perhaps even a base or just a really strong push to come your way.
Yeah.
Their base for Titan can come out though, and again, this is kind of a problem with heavy rain in a lot of the new maps, guys. Zooming out here, you can see it's very exposed from multiple angles. It's kind of like Derelict Watcher in an extent, where it's just like you need so many force fields to make any engagement worthwhile.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, defending your natural and your third is gonna, you're just kind of forced into an arc. But there's like, it's more pathway. That's a word. Than Derelict Watchers, so the arc isn't always quite there unless they can really surprise you by getting up the ramps first. So I'd say it's easier to at least take that third than Derelict.
That's a good point, yeah. The 2 Voiders are over here, and it looks like Titan is going to be dropping down 2 more Stargates, guys, so good to dedicate to this air style. This is because, again, Heavy Rain's a map that is pretty nice for Zerg player to use Swarm Hosts on, and a good way to circumvent that is by having a lot of air.
Oh, yeah. That is, I wonder how Kane's gonna react, though. He hasn't scouted it, obviously.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was saying before. Like, 2 Void Rays, 1 Stargate, that's nothing too crazy, but 3 Stargates this early is something you really have to be aware of. If you go for like a ton of roaches underneath this, you're gonna have a bad time.
He's getting an infestation pit already. So maybe just, the fact that Void Rays were coming out so early is kind of like, is he gonna go for that mass Void Ray style, so he's gonna make sure to check. And infestation pit's never like really a bad thing.
Oh, Void Ray, it's not gonna kill this in time. Kane
No.
sees 2 Stargates, he sees 3 Stargates.
Well, that just means that he can't do anything with the roach pressure, and he's not gonna try. He was getting a few roaches, but not too many. Infestation pit does finish.
I would
What
really
will
like
be
to
the
see.
choice? Fungals.
There
Okay.
we go. Yeah. I was gonna say after seeing those like 3 Stargates, if he went into Swarm Host, I would not like that. I like the Infestor choice a lot better. I like the Pathogen Glands coming out too. Like, Void Rays are really scary, sure, but they clump, and all it takes is a couple good fungals. In fact, if you guys don't know, Queens outrange Void Rays by 1, so if you land a fungal, hold them in place, you can actually use a Queen to attack them without any retaliation.
And that is really important, because, like, honestly, the best way, maybe not the only way, but I think the best way is by chain fungaling Void Rays when they get above, that 10-15 count, where it gets kind of dicey.
With the Zealots underneath this isn't just a Void Ray push. Like, this is actually really scary.
Well, he has some roaches. The infestors are not out yet, and that's what makes it scary. There are a few queens, but just 3 queens is not going to cut it. But he needs to start producing a lot more. He needs any anti-air that he can. He has a Hydralisk den, but he's just not making any Hydralisk.
I love the Titan prismatically aligned versus the Queens. You get no benefit from that, guys, but it just looks cool. Fungal does go off, but the Infestor dies. One of these Void Rays is dangerously low. Second Fungal gonna land on that. Will go for the recall.
Surprising, because I guess he would have expected Hydralisk were on the way or something, more queens, but we knew that there wasn't anything on production tab, so probably could have done a little more damage, but a little too afraid of those fungals. Counterattack is on the way for Kane, but what can he really do when you don't have any mobile anti-air? Like, even the Infestors aren't really mobile, and you don't really want to risk taking them across the map for an attack that you're not sure about.
I want to give a small shout out to Blazed Adam in chat.
Oh my god.
Improvised thing. Yeah, oh my god, it's right on 3 carriers at a time. This is not something that fungal growth is going to take care of very easily. Now, of course, these are really slow units, and Infested Terrans may be problematic. I don't know. We got Swarm Host coming up here for Kane, too, but I mean, realistically, if there's nothing on the ground for the Swarm Host to kill, then they're not going to be that effective.
Yeah, he's got to stop producing Swarm Hosts.
He's going like pure air. This is so weird. Usually it's Void Rays mixed with Stalkers, mixed with Force Fields, mixed with a Colossus, more importantly, right? But carriers, oh my god, I can't even remember the last time I've seen carriers used in StarCraft 2. Actually, I can.
Yeah, I was going to be like...
It was Wings of Liberty, Hyun versus Estrella, but anyways, that's beside the point. That was a year ago.
I remember in DRG versus Genius, he tried, but failed. That's the last one I remember. But
I think if he
it
hides these, this could work out really well, though. Honestly.
that's what. Okay, honestly, like it was Wins Liberty, so it's not like the same. But Seed or not Seed, Genius tried to hide them, and they were like talking about how the surprise element probably could have won him the game. But it wasn't too hard to scout them. Honestly, like DRG scouted them instantly.
Yeah, I mean, the second he reveals these, I mean, Kane's already got Corruptors on the way to try and deal with the Void Rays, so they're going to work even better versus the Carriers. The Void Rays are going to try and guard the Carriers the best they can, but as far as what's on the ground for anti-air, there's no Hydralisks. There's some Infestors, 5 in total, but, I mean, Queens aren't going to cut it, not versus this. So run by here towards the north while this is happening, too.
You can micro carriers now in the Heart of the Swarm, so that'll definitely play a part. I mean, they're still not great because they can micro, but they're a little easier to survive anyways. The Zealot run by, unfortunately, hits right for the Spine Color's finish, but the engagement is going down.
Oh, the Swarm hosts are very expensive to lose.
More Fungals. This is, there's not a whole lot of anti-air, so the Fungals are good, but where are the anti-air?
He needs to transfuse more, now going to save it for the Corruptors getting involved with the fight. They prismatically align and shred the Corruptors to bits. The Carriers and the Interceptors are just a little too much, and going for a recall as the Infested Terrans come down. A great move out of Titan.
Yeah. Don't forget, he also got a 4th base behind this, so 4 bases versus 4 bases. And Kane's really can't be comfortable just making that endless free units, too. So it's not like he's going to have a lot of bank on that economy.
5 Stargate Zombie Grub! This is wicked. So obviously he's not going to be able to produce 5 carriers at a time. He's not going to have the economy even off of 4 bases for that, but 5 Void Rays at a time. Hell, 3 carriers, 2 Void Rays, 2 carriers, 3 Void Rays, whatever he wants it to be, are going to be fantastic.
He's just producing all carriers, though. Like, it's not uncommon to see a lot of Stargates that produce Void Rays. Like, that's actually really, really scary, but carriers, like, it's almost universal agreement that carriers just aren't that good. I guess Titan. We were talking about how he's like kind of like that guy just goes under the radar for the most part. Maybe he's been having a lot of success with it.
Well, so here's the thing about carriers, right? And this is, again, me speaking from a lot of inexperience. You don't see them often enough to really get definitive information about them. But the one thing that rings true is whether they're good or not, they've got a ton of damage incorporated with them. The Interceptors hit so freaking hard, and there's so many of them. So while the carrier itself can go down pretty quickly to Corruptor Focus Fire, you bet Corruptor's going to die well before all those carriers do. So if Kane can produce enough to hold us back, then yeah, he'll be in not bad of a spot. He'll have some Infestors in the ground support too. Infested Terrans will be fantastic, but I mean, realistically, carrier DPS is pretty good. As we see, like, instantaneous death for these poor Infestors. Lots of Fungals going to go down. Might need to go for a recall once again. He does have the energy for it. Yeah, so recall's on out.
Loses all the Void Rays. I feel like the power of what Titan is doing is that he's mixing it with Void Rays. So the Void Rays take care of the Corruptors pretty well. You know, they buy time for the carriers to do that damage you're talking about, as well as do a lot of damage themselves. So mass Corruptor doesn't really work. But he's losing his very expensive Stargate units for not a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, wait till you're, have that really huge army, which he's maxed out, but a lot of that's actually honestly in probes.
You know, it's weird to consider, but I think Tempest wouldn't be too bad here either. Not so much to deal with the Corruptors. Tempest don't get the bonus damage versus them, but they've got that massive range. And it's the same sort of mentality where you lay siege tanks down to keep the Infestors back in TVZ, while you use the massive range of the Tempest to keep the Infestors back here with this massive army composition.
Yeah. The Swarm hosts are doing really well against the Zealot, because, that's kind of what he wants to sink his minerals into, or Zealot run-bys, and, Swarm hosts are getting very good mileage out of that.
This is an insane amount of Zealots, though. Even though half of them die, more get fungal, he still manages to get some through. Only to the Spine Crawlers eventually take them down. Carriers are going to push to the left side of the map while this is going on. There is enough energy for, once again, another recall if necessary.
His upgrades are, by the way, like 2-1. Because I'm not, like 1 plasma, 2 air upgrades. Says Kane is trying to get his own air upgrades going. Just a 1-1. Just so weird to see these upgrades for carriers.
So many Spine Crawlers coming down. So much static defense at each of these bases. Zealot run-bys are now out of the question. Not even going to happen. Templar warped in. So this will work to the same extent too. It's going to seem like I'd like to see Tempest involved, but the Templar will work too. Feedbacking the Infestors if they can be afforded the opportunity.
I want to see the Interceptors pop out. You can click on them, right?
You can select them. Yeah, they're individual units.
Yeah. Okay.
What are you trying
I'm
to see?
gonna
Like,
wait
how
to
much
see
health they
that.
have? Like,
Yeah, I just want to see their stats.
I think it's like 40-40. I could be wrong. I don't know.
it's 40-40.
Oh,
50-50.
I see. I see. Yeah. No, no. I mean, legitimately. Okay, maybe you can't click on them. You can in custom games, I guess, but not here.
Okay. It didn't sound right, but I wasn't sure, so can't
Let's
do
be
it.
honest.
Oh,
There's
well.
not a lot of carriers to get experience from as far as this goes.
True.
Infestors are walking forward. A good fungal will catch a couple of these units, but not too many. That range on fungal is really nice. Just gonna instantly recall, so screw it. Not gonna bother. Titan is playing a very irritating style. Let's be honest. Like, it's every time he's able to go out, he just recalls again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a mother ship come down at this point. Like, the stealth is whatever. It's kind of negligible, but it'll give this a lot more health. And the mothership core is kind of, well, almost dead for a lot of this game.
You can attack the interceptors though. Like, why don't they have the health bar when they?
I don't know. I tried grabbing them. I couldn't.
Yeah, I know you can attack them because you're supposed to be able to.
Wow, that's a hell of a lot of cannons coming down here at the base for Titan. So I guess there's
There's only 2 pylons.
yeah, if Zealot run-bys aren't going to work, this is another place to invest the minerals. But this is okay. So what Titan's doing right now is kind of predictable, right? Like, every time he goes to the left, recalls, then goes right. Every time he goes right, then recalls, goes left. Like, the one thing I do like, if you guys will notice, there are 8 Templar hidden within these warp prisms because Templar are so slow that there's no chance for them to connect to the infestors. But if a fungal goes off, he can unload them. He can get those feedbacks off, and feedbacks are really what's going to shut those down. Storms are available too, and let's not forget. Well, it might do a ton of damage. Oh wow, walks right past the fungal. Storm can also blanket down on these corruptors, which will inevitably stack up pretty nicely. A couple of the ducks may go off. Huge fungal on this army. But as we see, the infestors are finding it very difficult to get in range here. Carriers are abducted and will be massacred accordingly. Feedback starting to go off, though. Infestors popping off. Ducks going down once again. Perhaps pulling a little too many, but the corruptors are going to focus these down. Void Race, I'm not sure what they're doing. Not getting involved with the fight is that much. Titan's army has dwindled significantly. He's lost a lot of carriers in this, but he's remaxing. He's rebuilding his carriers as this goes on. The Corruptors are going to finally start taking a bit of a head-on engagement. Voiders are doing what they can, but they're out of prismatic alignment energy. The juice is gone and needs to recall if he wants to get out of here alive, but just going to sacrifice everything. A storm is slapped down, and the Mothership Core does go down. Losing everything here in the front lines is a little bit tough to deal with.
Counterattack with some zealots, I guess, on the left side, but there's so many spine crawlers that it just doesn't really matter. Although mostly that's spore crawlers, so maybe eventually he can break through. The entire army of Titan going down was really, really hard to see, though. I mean, Kane did lose a lot of corruptors towards the end there because of the storms, but he saves a few of them and just remaxes on them anyways.
Well, it's a lot easier for a Zerg player, too, to make, like, 40 corruptors than it is to make 40 carriers, right? Like, it's...
Yeah,
That's something that Titan's going to be forced to deal with. Now, he's in such a fortified position that it's okay. Kane has got a lot of static defense, and that's where a lot of his strength lies. He doesn't have any pushing capabilities, so Titan is oddly enough safe, especially with the insane amount of cannons he has at each of these bases.
Yeah, and with a mostly corruptor army, like, when are you going to push? You know, are you going to push just corruptors in a counterattack? That's not going to work. The only thing he has is the swarm hosts that have to pretty much be with his army. He did try like sending them off to the left to kill that base, but needed them for the fight, so you can't really do that. And it's just, you know, this could be a very long game as both players. Titan is willing to go out and lose his army and willing to rebuild, but it's going to take a very long time for him to mine out. And if he keeps doing it, yeah, eventually he will lose, but it's still going to be a long game.
I've seen Swarm hosts like force out really long games before, but never like this. Never like this.
Well, it's more Titan forcing out the long game now, right? Like,
well, that's true. That's true. That's very true. So many, you know, if these zealots were like 3/3 armor upgrades, maybe they could take these spine crawlers out a little more efficiently. I mean, they are still slicing them down, but Swarm hosts have now been repositioned. Lings are here on the front lines too. Now moving more northwards once again. The Corruptor army, though, and the Infestors are waiting. Like, he knows this is coming. What Titan really needs to do here is start cleaning up some of the creep as well, I think.
You know what's really bad about carriers, amongst a lot of things?
I was going to say pretty much everything about them.
Their supply is extreme. They take up a lot of supply.
Like,
yeah, so not only is his army, like, he's maxed, but his army doesn't look that great, and that's mostly also because of his probes, but also it's so easy to grab them with pulls, right? Like with a mass Void Ray army, there's like 30 Void Rays, so like how many are you going to abduct, really? But with carriers, there's only like 10 of them, and if abducting 3, you've dramatically reduced the power of the army, and that's what's happening every time Titan tries to go past and win the game.
This is yeah, you make a really good point. Like normally when you abduct a unit like a Colossus, that's six supply or something, right? Like it's not the end of the world to lose a Colossus. But because of how supply inefficient these are, I mean, yes, there's a lot of damage associated with them, but as we saw earlier, the abducts just absolutely destroyed. Oh man, this is it's such a weird thing. Like, okay, I'm loving these double warp prisms full. Like, that's really cool. I like this move out of Titan. I would almost wish you would just send a warp prism straight through like the middle of the map though, and just warp in a ton of zealots to the base of Kane. Because I mean, the regular zealot walk-bys, and I would call them a run-by, but realistically, they're not getting a lot done. So like these walk-bys that they're doing, like, they're not killing anything. There's no spine crawlers in the main. If he kills the Hive, he kills any Viper pre-production. If he kills the Spire, no more Corruptors, right? Like, Warp Prism, I feel, could be a lot more effective in this scenario than it really has ended up being. Titan, though, I gotta give him credit. Massive bank while this is going on. Like, those 5 Stargates, I joked about not being able to make 5 carriers at a time, but he will be able to make 5 carriers at a time.
Yeah.
In fact, producing 4 at a time right now.
The upgrades are starting to get max for both players as well, so we're going to see, you know, a good old slugfest eventually.
I want to see Tempest come out so badly. Like, I know they're not going to be the most efficient units, but they're going to be able to force fights a little bit easier, I feel, with that range bonus.
Yeah, they're good at forcing fights, that's for sure. Probes were sacrificed, by the way, so I think he sacrificed about 15 right there, and that brings him down to a much healthier count of 70. Maybe even lower, since he has that bank starting to accumulate. You want to start getting rid of them, especially when you're trying to go for carriers. Okay,
so you can't hallucinate carriers. This is a fact. Like, it's one of the options of you can't hallucinate. But if you hallucinate a ton of Void Rays, I think that'd be really fantastic. Because, like, sentries are really cheap compared to what he's doing, and it could make for this very inflated army that Kane, you know, targets the wrong units down. Oh, gonna kill all those Templar inside of that Warp Prism. Unloads 1, just barely.
And feedback's 3 and festers to the death. That's actually not that bad.
That was a huge loss though, nonetheless. Another abduct's gonna go off. Unloads immediately.
He's so afraid of the storms.
Backs away. These Templar will walk away with their lives. Oh no, never mind. Here come the swarm hosts underneath this. So Templar still die in the end. But that's a cool choice to abduct on the Warp Prisms. I actually really like that move. Mining out of his bases, though, Titan might have had that massive bank. It still has a rather massive bank, but this is going to get depleted pretty quickly. Kane, though, not much better of a spot. He's not got the bank going that Titan currently does, but he also doesn't really have the option of additional bases. Like, these middle bases, I feel neither player is going to take them. Like, not with the way this game's shaping up.
He has a bit better of an army, though. That's, you know, that's a sacrifice. Then they are both going to start accumulating a very big bank. And the thing is that a big bank, no matter how long it takes to get to, is going to benefit the Zerg more because you're going to be able to remax instantly. So the longer Titan waits, the better it is for Kane. Plus, I just think his composition is going to be really, really good. And when is Titan ever going to push into not only the army, but all the spore crawlers?
So this is 11 carriers right now. That's 88 interceptors ready to go, guys. And each interceptor hits for like 8 damage twice. This is so much damage in the army of Titan. And you know what? Like an A move on top of the Corruptors actually probably wouldn't even go too poorly for him at this point. But again, a lot of this comes down to the fear of those infestors. Fungal growths or whatever. It just absolutely scary. If Kane, oh god, you know what? I would love to see Kane go for a neural at this point too. Like just, if for no other reason, for the sake of it. Yeah. Void Rays do so much damage. You just medically align a Void Ray that's been fungal down. Like, those carriers are going to die so quickly. But the range on fungal, of course, sucks. So that's why we don't see a lot of players opt to go for it. Used to be a lot better.
Oh, I guess we've reached kind of an impasse right now. Neither player really too eager to do anything.
Alright, Templar out. Limit on what they do. Does get a couple good feedbacks down. Fungal growth on the Warp Prism. Oh, it's the Templar. Kind of a cool storm. Doesn't hit anything apparently. But every single unit in the air is fungal currently. He's gonna have to take this fight. No mothership core, no mothership. Actually, where's the mothership core? It is with the army. So can recall in about 9 energy, but can't do it right now. So forced to fight for the time being. The infestors have pretty much been feedbacked, if not killed at this point. Void Rays are doing what they can. The mothership core is about to die. No chance of a recall. Forced to fight. All in is Titan. But of course, he's producing 5 Void Rays at a time behind this, and I think he may have just broken the army of Kane. So many Corruptors are about to die here. The carriers actually have lost most of their interceptors at the point, worth noting. So down to 31 interceptors. They don't have a lot of damage associated left with them.
It's always once like the Voiders are down, there's nothing but carriers, then suddenly the Corruptors look fantastic. There's also a Warp Prism harass in the main, not doing too much as the Spine Crawlers are buying enough time. Another big Warp in actually gets cancelled and actually dies straight up. A lot of Corruptors lived in that engagement. That's bad news for Titan. Look at the army supply.
But you know what? With 5 Stargates at a time, he's remaxing pretty darn quick, and Kane does not have an army he can immediately counterattack with. It's Swarmos, it's Corruptors, and it's Infestors.
Yeah.
None of these units are fast to attack. It's not like a Ling counterattack. It's not like a Ling run by. And even if he does move out, again, so many cannons to defend with. Like, this is... I just don't even... Zombie up. I don't even... At this point.
The counterattack is so lame. Like, just like straight up, because the counterattack is like the Corruptors get there first and they can't do anything. The Swarmos finally get there. They have to burrow and wait for the flipping Locust to actually do any damage.
Exactly.
Like, it's the slowest counterattack ever. So it does buy Titan enough time to get back a Void Ray army. He's still trying to use those carriers. I don't know, man. I feel like a mass Void Ray is gonna, benefit you better.
Well, I said no one's gonna take these middle bases, but Kane certainly is gonna try to. Spine Cores have been advanced forward. Lots and lots of Void Rays here. Man, I feel like too, like if Titan just spreads, right? Like fungal growth is really what screwed him there.
Yeah, it was like all of the engagements pretty much. He's gotten really good fungal growth off, and it just Titan seems to not care. And he doesn't die because of it technically, but he loses a lot of the army.
Like I don't think he's being willingly complacent about it. It's just it's not easy to split like 40 Void Rays.
I mean, you can get more than one control group. Like, I feel at this point, like at least spread them into 2 groups, not just one blob.
Looks like Warpstone will go down. No storms go off, unfortunately. Base from Titan is not going to get up thanks to the Locusts. And the base from Kane looks like it's about halfway finished. Lots of probes here waiting to mine. I'm surprised he didn't try and go long distance mine or set up like 100 cannons.
Yeah, it's not gonna get up. The Swarmos are camping it right now. He actually needs to go and get the other base if he wants to get it.
I really want to see a Mothership get involved in this game. I mean, it's weird to consider because it's a garbage unit. Not a lot of people use it, and it's only good in very unique scenarios. But because he's not trying to use a recall, there's no reason to keep the Mothership core a core. You know what I mean? A couple Temple are going to load here. Storm does go down, or tries to go down on the Corruptors. The fungal growth, of course, is going to go off. And these Infestors are so dry that feedbacks are actually not that big of a threat.
The Storms are still very, very scary for Kane. That's why he's a little hesitant. Just go ahead and snipe it whenever the War Prism comes past. And of course, losing a bunch of Festers to a couple of feedbacks, not exactly what he wants.
You know, another thing, too, again, I kind of made a joke about the sentries and the hallucinations earlier, but legitimately... a couple Guardian Shields might not be too bad. They do, of course, help air units, too. Not that they're the most durable things in the world, but it might just be that little bit of extra that you need. You know, when you got a ton of Spore Crawlers and Corruptors raining down on your army. Reducing the damage by 2 from 50 hits, that could help a lot. We're pushing in here with so many Interceptors, going to distract the Spore Crawlers, allowing the Void Rays to just shred everything to bits. The Corruptors are a little bit late to respond because I think he thought Titan was going from the right, not the south. Mothership Core is good, dangerously low.
Why are there Lings on the field? Like, what are you doing here?
Well, you know what?
At all.
I disagree. This will be the counterattack potential that Kane could really use. Not against the cannons, but you look at the third base here, you look at the natural, there's actually not a lot of defense. If these Lings run by, there's nothing to defend with.
Well, I think you should do it now. Like, what are you say they're going to do now? Like, the High Templars are dying to everything else, so the Lings should be doing something.
Trying to use them with the army is a bit cute, I guess. That is one thing worth noting too, guys. Titan has to actually spend resources to attack with the carriers, right? Like, each interceptor is not free. So he will eventually get to a point where he's not going to have the money to support these units.
That'll be a sad day. Like, he has an army, but they don't have any interceptors.
Yeah, can you imagine being maxed out 200 carriers, but no money for interceptors? How insane would that be?
Well, he's doing some damage. He's actually getting rid of a lot of the static defense. Kane just a little hesitant to actually push in. It's not the ball that he's gotten the good fungals on quite.
Oh god. Sorry, the fungals are moving forward. I was getting a little bit scared. Lings are doing great at picking off the Templars they unload, though. I love this move out of Kane. Like, oh my god, you can fungal interceptors!
Yeah, I think that was actually a point that someone brought up that made them even less useful.
Yeah. Well, on the retreat here, might have to force a little bit of a fight. Corruptors are going to turn immediately. Small shout out. No, big shout to Angelicar for the sub. Nice to see a friend of Tempo and us joining the ranks of the Ace Kates and what have you. Of course, we've got the Ace Temp Pogs now as well. We'll see which emoticon becomes popular over the next month. But thank you for your support, man, here in this insanely long game. This is... oh god, an insanely long game. Coming up with 42 minutes now. We got another fungal growth waiting to go off. But the Infestors are in full retreat. The Zealots were trying to connect to this from behind. Of course, the Templar are going to zone this back. Looks like this base will be shut down once again. But most importantly, Kane has lost a lot of his static defenses in these last 2 pushes. He had like 40 Spore Crawlers before. Now he's down to 30. Well, okay, he had way more than 40 before. I was just guesstimating. But still, down to 30 Spore Crawlers compared to the massive amount he had before. This is, well, a couple Zealots actually going to try and chip down another one. Resources lost for both players is kind of through the roof right now, too. Ooh, that
He's kind of making it work right now. I'm still afraid when the actual engagement goes down that it's going to go super poorly. But we're going to have to wait and see. 2 fungals.
Well, the Zealots are acting like the Zerglings were, right? Like, he's using the Zerglings to catch the caster units. He's using the Zealots to catch the Infestors, but not a lot of anti-air left at this point. There's still so many Void Rays. This is where it's getting really scary for Kane, guys. 29 Corruptors have gotten engaged in this army, and for the first time this game, Titan splits his forces.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Now he's going to be so much more effective. Where are the pools? Where are the Viper pools? He needs to start pulling some of these units. Oh, he doesn't have enough energy. He needs to consume.
He used it on the Warp Prisms.
Give them away.
He used a lot of that on the Warp Prisms. Titan's trying to secure the middle base while this is going on, but looks like the Void Rays are going to be just barely enough. And of course, Infestors are armored units, so they take the bonus damage too. This is looking a little bit scary for Titan as he finally gets fungled one more time. Corruptor's going to engage on top of this, but as the Void Rays go down, so will the carriers. A recall needs to go off from this mothership core. Save the carriers! And he does.
Okay, so it still was a trade, right? But who is it a trade better for? Like, both players are really starving on minerals and gas. Kane still has all those Corruptors, and he has Swarm Hosts. I feel like the Swarm Hosts are actually going to be really big, because the Corruptors still lived, but he has no ground army except for the Swarm Hosts.
They're both long-distance mining. That's how desperate they both are for cash right now, guys. Swarm Hosts are going to actually pick off all these probes, though, which is going to be really unfortunate for Titan. His massive worker...
Run!
His massive worker count was actually working nicely for the long-distance mining aspect, but he can't even afford to build any more interceptors, really. He can't afford to build a Nexus. As far as this composition goes here, Storms are kind of cool, but, I mean, realistically, everything lost at this point is a little bit scarier. I think Kane just won this game.
I think so. I really do. The ground army is, you know... It's never been there for Titan. The air army's about to die right now, and Kane, while his ground army is still small, it's still there. It's Swarm Host, right? And those don't ever really have to die.
1 Corruptor with 1 HP for the win. I don't know why that Void Ray focused away from it, but good game is finally called, and Kane will take game number 1 in this insane driven game.
I mean, I kind of expected that game to go not in Titan's favor the entire time, but he was made a game out of it, obviously.
Like, okay, let's assume for a moment he had actually secured that extra base. He would have had an economy where Kane wouldn't, and in that scenario, he could have won the game. But neither player having either of those middle bases with, just ridiculousness is all I can say. I can't wait to see what game number 2 looks like, in before like 2 Gate or something dumb.
Yeah,
but it's gonna